Okay, so let's start. So Amazon RDS, it is called Amazon Relational Database Service. Okay, so what we'll see here, a relational database on Amazon warehouse, okay, or Amazon web services. What they provide? They provides around 6 databases, and those are Amazon Aurora, MySQL, MariaDB, Postgres SQL, Oracle, and Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, MS SQL Server. So these are the databases, relational databases being provided by the AWS. Apart from that, they provides also NoSQL databases like your DynamoDB. It has actually DynamoDB, only one NoSQL databases, which they provide. Also, they are giving very good services to migrate your database services to the on premises or from on premises to our cloud services. So let's see what is the database. Remember, these are the six, currently these are the 6 relational databases they provide. So I got this picture from AWS side, so this is the genuine one. So these are the 6 SQL relational databases they provide on AWS. Okay, so what is Amazon RDS? Amazon Relational Database Service is a web service that makes it easier to set up, operate, and scale a relational database in the AWS cloud. So it provides cost efficient, resizable capacity for an industry standard relational database and manages common database administration tasks. So when we say like it manages the common database administration task, that means once we go and uses their service, any database service, you don't have to worry about any administration task. You don't have to worry about the availability or any backup things or anything. Everything they will be taken care. Okay, so they will take care everything. You don't have to worry. We'll see what are the services and whatever the um, things they will take care, administration tax and the rest of the things what you have to check. Okay, and so there is a very good web documentation they have. So let me just go through this documentation and we'll learn more things on this, because it is database service, right? It will take almost around 2 to 3 months to if you learn only the databases. Okay, so anyway, we cannot cover entirely AWS database services. However, I can just show you the details and how I'll guide you how you can go through that and learn more things if you are interested on only the databases. Okay, so as we saw here, like the relational databases, whatever they provides the cost efficient resizable capacity for an industry standard relational databases. Okay, and what we can do, we can set up, operate and scale relational databases as per our need in the cloud. So let's see what are the details they are providing. They are just giving RDBs instances. So a DB instance is an isolated database environment running in the cloud. So when we say about the DB instance, that means the database is, when we create the database, it will be installed in an instance, and that instance will be holding your database services. So what it will do in the backend, when we create suppose one service, MySQL or Oracle, what will happen, that instances, that particular service will be installed in one of the EC2 instance or any instances of AWS, and that instance will hold your entire database. Okay, we'll see in action when we create our databases. What it says, it is the basic building block of Amazon RDS, and a DB instance can contain multiple user created databases. Also we'll see, so minimum it gives actually in the free tier, they have given 3 tiers of service they provide: production, development and the free tier. We'll see what are the differences between them and what we can get it with each services, and it can be accessed using the same client tools applications you might use to access the standalone database instances. So don't waste timing on this reading or all these details, but just read what DB instance is and what are the services, what are the instance they are providing. What they're saying it here, you can have up to 40 Amazon RDS DB instances.
That, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay, there was a connection lost. Okay, fine. So it's restored now.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so we can see here 40 for Oracle under being your own license. You would have seen like many companies, many organizations they are using, and this BYOL, like bring your own license, like we have BYOD, right? Bring your own devices if you are going to use the that one. So if you have your own license, you can use,
Bring your
yeah, you have to pay
bring
for
your
the
own bag.
yeah, nowadays, yeah, in
Uh,
with, to ban polythene and all, right? So some
uh,
some market
yeah,
counters and
please
some
go ahead.
counters they are saying, yeah. So what it says, like each DB instance has a DB instance identifier. All these informations, don't worry about that. We are going to see in examples about the endpoint, DB DNS endpoint. I'll show you what is this DNS endpoint and how you can use it. And these are the points what I am just going to show you. Like let me show for the MySQL database, when we creating the DB instance, some database engines require that a database name be specified. So all these things whatever we'll do in actions. Okay, don't worry about this, and don't if you have time, I why I'm going to show all these things, because just go and read once. I know it you'll not have patience to read all these, but I'll whenever we'll do the exercise and do the setups, everything will go and use it. Okay, that time it will be easy for you to remember. So that is called the DB instance classes, and we'll see what are the instance classes being used. So these are the instance classes, DB, MCG, and all these classes being used. So these actually being, you have to, as a solution architect, it's when you are designing any databases, right? You have to go and follow these documentations. If you don't remember the classes, obviously we cannot remember all these classes and the usage of these instance classes. Like we have in EC2 instance types, right? Similarly, we have DB instance class types. So you have to see what is this instance class type being used for database. So what it says, general purpose instance classes powered by AWS Graviton 2 processor. These deliver balanced compute, memory, networking for a broad range of general purpose workloads. So based on your requirement, you have to choose this instance class. So I'll show you when we create the RDS database. That time I'll show you where to use these class types, and you have to just go through what are all these details. Okay, so we have see db t2 instances, t3 instances, r3, r4, r5. So t2 is comes under feature. Okay, like our EC2 instances, instance classes that provide a baseline performance level with ability to burst full CPU usage. And if you want to know more about DB instance storage, you'll find it the instance storage details here. General purpose SSD, like we have our volumes, right? EVS volume in our EC2. The similar concept you are using, because they are also going to use an instance the behind the scene, right? So everything they are going to see same thing, provisioned general purpose SSD, magnetic. Just try to relate the things from the EC2 instance and here. For general purpose, what they give for this MariaDB, MySQL, and Oracle, all these, they provide 20 gigabyte to 64 terabyte of instant database instances. Okay, general purpose storage. They provide 20 GB to minimum 20 GB to maximum up to 64 terabyte. Remember all these terms you may get in the certification level when we are proceeding in
Interview.
the, so not interview they are not going to ask all this, and nobody is going to remember also, even though if read it are not going to remember. Interview, they'll not in interview, they'll not ask you, but in exam whenever you're going to write any certifications, that time you will face this kind of questions. Okay, um, okay, so all these things you have to just go through that. If you know anything, whatever you are learning, if you know how to use the documentation, how to use the books, then that's more than enough, because it should at least know what to use and where to use. After that, it's everything will be easy. Okay. Now, what we'll see about the regions, availability zones, and local zones. So don't worry, everything we'll discuss in our slides. Okay. So let me just go through and show my slides and what we have done so far. So okay, so we learned about what is RDS and what are the services being provided by the AWS. So let's see about RDS has two key features like multi AG, that is multi availability zone for disaster recovery. So I have put in my every slides, I have put images to make it interactive slides and to go through that. So multi-AG for disaster recovery in case of any thing like any fire breakout or any like any rain happens, like flood or anything happens in that time. So in the disaster recovery, you already know, right, how it works. So BCP and everything it follows, and every organization has followed the rules and policies. Also, we have this read replicas for performance. So I will see how the read replicas being set up for the database performance to speed up your database performance. We'll see everything in actions. Let me just do a slide slow. So the next topic. Okay, suppose in case of a multi-availability zone, and here you can see our EC2 instance, which will having our applications. Okay, our API or our software development kit or anything, your front-end applications will be here in the EC2 instances. And with this RDS endpoint, I'll show you and I'll tell you what is this RDS endpoint. And then through RDS endpoint, we are suppose using one database in the availability zone 1 AJ1. Okay, in case suppose tomorrow something happen and disaster is happening, it goes down, so what will happen, automatically it will fall into the availability zone. So these automatic things you don't have to worry about that. Who will take care this? AWS itself will take care. Amazon will take care
AWS.
this. Yeah, automatic failover. Okay, the disaster recovery part will be automatically taken care by the Amazon. You don't have to worry about that. So that's the main important of the AWS database, a cloud database to use. So next we have so as we learn this basics about what they provide, we'll also soon know the basics about the SQL and NoSQL databases, as we are going to learn that extensively in our um, entirely class, okay, database class. So here I have given some basics about SQL and NoSQL databases. Guys who are not aware about these NoSQL databases, let me quickly go through this. So databases, as we know, right, is a relational database management system, that is RDBMS, and NoSQL database are categorized as non-relational databases, okay, non-RDBMS. And SQL database has fixed and static predefined schema. So we have to use schema here, but here we have, sorry, static schema, but here we have to use the dynamic schema. The schema can be changed anytime, whenever you want. There is no restrictions. But here in in SQL also, database displays data in the form of tables, rows and tables, right? In the table we'll have see that will be rows and columns will be there in the table. But here in database, in NoSQL, the collections are key value pair. It will be key value pair. If you have used JSON format, it will be in the JSON format, JavaScript object notation format, which will be your key value pair. And here what happens in SQL, databases are vertically scalable, but NoSQL databases are horizontally scalable. And then SQL databases are best suited for complex queries.
Ranjit,
Yeah, hello.
Ranjit, that yeah, one doubt actually. That vertically scalable means
So vertical scalables and here
the
horizontal scalables. Vertically scalables means, see, um, whenever you want to increase your databases, like you can increase your tables, it will be vertically means
records.
records will be increased, but column wise you cannot increase. If you add in the column wise also, you have to modify it entirely schema, right? You cannot increase or decrease.
table schema.
Table schema need to be modified. But here NoSQL
Hmm.
databases horizontally, whatever you want, you can just increase it. There is no like
Hmm.
restrictions. Whatever data you want to put it in the column, you can put it. You don't have to modify your schema. It's a horizontally
Hmm.
scalable. Okay.
Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and
Yep.
databases are best suited for complex queries. Suppose if you're writing more complex queries to that, then you have to just go for SQL. If you're using, suppose database not so good for complex queries because these are not as powerful as SQL queries. So there is also always a big and there is always a good with some services and bad with some services. NoSQL actually is very good usage for the big data currently in the market, right? Big data and data warehouses, they are currently using this NoSQL as in good demand. Most of the big data and everything they are follow this NoSQL and uses NoSQL. Even our, if you see about Netflix and Amazon Prime videos and all these guys, right? They are using NoSQL databases to fetch because I'll show you an example where to use the NoSQL databases and where to go for SQL databases. Okay. So SQL databases are not best suited for hierarchical data storage. NoSQL databases are best suited for hierarchical data storage. So this hierarchical data storage and non-hierarchical data storage. So hierarchical data storage means like every data been stored into the database in the hierarchical model. Like the model is will be like if you are creating a table, suppose for you are creating for a table for animal only. So in that table you'll be related for that animals, you have to put in the hierarchical ways for the animal categories. Okay, but you cannot put anything into that particular table. It's not permissible. But in case of NoSQL, whatever you want, any kind of generate, any kind of things you can put into that databases, NoSQL databases. Okay, and there are some examples of NoSQL like MySQL, Oracle, and all this. For NoSQL, we have MongoDB, Bigtable, Redis, and Cassandra, HBase. These are all related to the NoSQL databases and very rapidly being used in the big data and data warehouse. Okay, so let's next move on few points to remember. So remember, RDS runs on virtual machines. We cannot log into this operating system. As I told, the DB instance is running on a virtual machine. That means think about your on-premises, any machine, on-premises, any server. What you do, you install one SQL, MySQL database or Oracle database into your server. So that server will be your DB server because you installed one database server and you are specifically going to use that on-premises machine or server as your database server. Similarly, this RDS, the databases runs on the virtual machines, a machine in the cloud. Okay, that is your DB instance, and you cannot log into these operating systems. Unlike EC2 instances, what we do in EC2 instances, we have permissions and we can easily log into our EC2 instance and do whatever we want. But in case of RDS instances, we cannot log into the operating system. Remember, this is the questions you will get in the interview as well as in the certification examination. Okay, because why this operating system will be handled by AWS. Any issues related to your database instance, you have to reach out to the AWS customer support. Okay. Next, the patching of RDS OS and DB is Amazon's responsibility. Again, if you want to upgrade your operating systems or do any patching, database patching or anything, so you have to always check with your Amazon's service provider, right? That is their responsibility. So RDS is not serverless, but Aurora is. So Aurora actually, as I told, right? Aurora Amazon Aurora is a native database system being provided by the AWS. So that's why they have made this Aurora as serverless. So serverless means it does not have one instance. It will not have any DB instance. Then how it will be running? Because it will be running through the Lambda functions and through other serverless technologies. They have put serverless technologies on this Amazon Aurora, but others will be the server. MySQL is a server-based like databases. Okay, so that's why it says it's not serverless, but Aurora is. And let's think about okay. So in what are the services they provide? Basically, the good the types of backups, like what are the backups they provide in RDS, like automated backup and database snapshot. Because whenever we are talking about any databases, that is very critical. Okay, critical in the any organization. Database are the most critical things. So that's why they provide with two types of backups in the database, AWS database, which you can do as automated backups and database snapshot. So we always know, like in EC2 instances, how we do the backups, taking the snapshots. Okay, we take the snapshot and take the backup of the snapshot. Whenever you want to use, then you can get the snapshot and use it. Similarly, in the when we say about automatic backup, also this automatic backup also uses the snapshot frequently. Okay, more they'll use the snapshots to create the backups. So we'll see how these automatic backups happens and how the database snapshots happens. Okay, so let me finish all this theoretical part up to these snapshots and database, then we'll go directly and do a small labs and I'll show you how it can be done. Okay, now let's move into the
Mhm.
automated backup system. Remember all these points are the bullet points, and you have to just go through this and remember, try to remember all this. So automated backups allows you to recover database to any point in time within a retention period. Okay, and that is what automated backup. It allows you to recover database to any point in time within a retention period. The retention period can be between 1 and 35 days. In between 1 and 35 days, if you want to restore your databases, you can do that one. Okay, to recover any databases. That's why automatic backup gives this retention period up to 1 to 35 days. You'll get questions, examinations, and certification examinations. You'll get questions like what is the retention period of automatic backup. So automated backups will take a full daily snapshot and will store transaction logs throughout the day. So what happens? What are the transaction logs? So these are automatic backups. That's why it's very useful and very good service being provided by the AWS, because what it does, it stores your transaction logs, database transaction logs throughout the day. Anytime it will be storing, and you have to set up how frequently you want your transaction logs to be stored. Also, the daily snapshot, it automatically takes the daily snapshots. Okay, and now next is, when we do a recovery, AWS will first choose the recent daily backup. Suppose you there is any issues, any failure happens, and you want to recover your database. So what it will do, it will first choose the recent daily backup. So when what was the recent backup, it will take that backup and then apply transaction logs relevant of that day. So this allows us to do a point in recovery down to a second within the retention period. So within the retention period, we can recovery all the data. Okay, sorry. So what happens next? It automated backups are enabled by default. So when you create a DBS instance, it will be automatically enabled. The backup data is stored in S3. Remember, the so backup of data is stored in the S3, and you get free storage space equal to the size of your database. So what is the free storage of S3? What is the free storage limit for S3?
Standard, we are using standard storage per default. It's
That is
free.
No, what is my question is what is the free storage limit for S3? S3 bucket.
It's
that
5 GB.
5 GB, no, 5 GB.
Yes.
Yes.
So for S3 is 5 GB. But here what it says, the automated backups are enabled by default. The backup data is stored in S3 and you get free storage space equal to the size of your database. That means if your database size is 10 GB, you will get up to 10 GB worth of storage free in S3. And if you are using database 50 GB, you will get 50 GB of storage free. So that means if you are using RDS service, your S3 will be entirely free for you, right? Got
Mm-hmm.
the point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Suppose if you are using
Mm.
100 GB of storage in the RDS, and the same storage will be you are storing in the S3, and S3 will be entirely free for you to store your
Mm-hmm.
database logs and database um, records and everything in the S3. So this is actually a question again. You have to remember all these. So backups
So
are,
then
yeah.
this will be little costly then.
Yes, RDS will be costly. Obviously, I'll show
Yeah.
you. I'll show you what it actually they charges. After this
Uh-huh.
slide, we'll just go and do a lab exercise immediately, and I'll show you that time how much they charge. Okay. Now we'll see about the backups are taken within a defined window. During the backup window, storage input output may be suspended while your data is being backed up, and you may experience some latency. So remember, in the current whatever we are doing, right? Everywhere in the market, in the like organization or company, what they do while taking any backups, they do in the weekends, right? They take the backups on the weekend. They run the backup systems. If you see, if there is a backup will be running, obviously you'll face some slowness in the transaction retrieving, right? So that's why the backups always taken at the out of the working hours, out of the working hours. Like suppose your transactions day of the working day is finished 5 o'clock. After 5 o'clock, they'll give some grace period up to 6 or 7. So night 9 to morning, that time there will be no work, right? So databases will be simply idle. That time they normally take the backups. That is what if the company working in the single zone, if the company will be working multiple cycle in the globe, right? Every time the company database will be like viewed, right, or be used. So what they'll do that time, they'll take the snapshots in the weekends. If there is any week, any day of the weekdays is not possible, they'll do the some backups in the weekend backups. The entirely database they will take it off. Okay, and daily backup is must, and for that actually they're using very good service, which while taking the backups, they'll not give you the like the you'll not get extensively slowness, but you'll get some latency in the database backups. That is natural. Okay. Now, next we'll see about the database snapshot. So backup, database automated backup we saw. So backups actually what it is, the automated backups will take a full daily snapshots. It takes the full daily snapshots. What is then snapshot? So DB snapshots are done manually. So we don't have to, it is not automatically. So backups, remember the backups happen automatic, but snapshots you have to take manually. This is also a question. Backups happen automatically, snapshots will be taken manually, and there.
Just one question. I just miss your point maybe.
Mhm.
So my question is that backup where is stored? Means in S3 that backup is storing or where?
Yeah, S3 bucket, it will be stored in the S3 bucket.
Automatically it will create a database means automatically a backup will store in our S3 bucket.
This not automatically, you while you're creating the RDS, I'll show you, you have to select where your data to be stored.
Okay, and snapshot will store in the snapshot.
Yeah, a snapshot.
Uh,
You can store in the snapshot in the AWS in that particular zone itself, or you can store snapshots. It will be stored in that instance itself. You can take a backup if you want
okay,
to anywhere, either in S3 or you
okay,
can put it anywhere, or you can just keep in your local drive also the snapshots. Okay.
okay, got it.
Yeah. So they are stored even after you delete the original RDS. So you can store that snapshot, and even if you delete your original RDS instance, so you can just get the snapshot and get your RDS again, RDS instance again back. Okay. And next is the restoring the backups. Let me see. Okay, multiple availability zone will cover tomorrow, and there are lots of other topics I have prepared. So okay, I will cover tomorrow. But today, let me finish up to restore backup. Then we'll do a immediately lab exercise. Okay, so restoring backups. Whenever you restore either an automatic backup or a manual snapshot, the restored version of the database will be new RDS instance with a new DNS endpoint. So remember, every time you create any backups, okay, or any manual snapshot, after that, if you are restoring it, it will be get a new DNS name. It will get a new endpoint. So if you see here in this picture, we have suppose this original is one. Let me change this color. This original suppose green. Okay, suppose this is the oops, okay, this is the original and database. Once you take the backup, and if you want to restore and create a database again, and you'll get called as restored. Okay, this is the name just given to show you the difference, but this name you have to give it. Suppose here the database name will be suppose Ranjit, okay, or anything. While restoring, you have to give a different name, Kumar or Swai or whatever a name you have to give is restored, and then create another database. So same name cannot be done. It will be a different DB instance at all. Okay. So far you got everything in the theoretical. You understood what is this RDS and what are the options and backups and snapshots and restoring available in the AWS. So let's move on and see how we can create one RDBMS database and how we can access the data and insert some data into the database and how we can access, and we'll see a lot of other options in the database instances while creating that also. Okay. So let's
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Any doubt or anything, guys, so far we need to discuss or anything, or I can directly jump into the database creation. Okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
believe.
yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, there will be nothing so far. So go and practice that one, and once you try practicing, you will get lots of doubts and lots of concerns. So that time we will discuss maybe in the next class. So let me move on. And so if you just log into your um, console, okay, go to your services. In the services, you will find the database section, right? In this database section, so we'll see here RDS, DynamoDB, Elastic Cache, Neptune, Amazon QLDB, DocumentDB, Keyspace, and all these things. If these things is not too much required, but mostly we'll focus on this RDS, DynamoDB, and Elastic Cache. Okay, so let's go with RDS first, and we'll see what are the relational databases available and how we can create it. So click on RDS. Okay, so we can see here the RDS dashboard. Here in the RDS dashboard, you can see all this in the resource section. You can find resource.
No,
Hello.
permit showing a white.
It's Ranjit, it yet to load actually. Maybe the
Yes,
network
not yet
issue.
loaded.
Okay, fine, fine. Yeah, there is actually I switched the network in between. Maybe it is.
Now we
Yeah,
are able to.
it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So you can see here in this resource page, we'll find the DB instances. And you can see here the number of DB instances for you, it will be 20. Okay, number of DB instances you can create up to 20. And here allocated storage up to 100 terabyte. And DB cluster, is it okay? You can some sound.
Yeah, Ranjit. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, Ranjit. So,
cluster, yeah, DB cluster we can get
Ranjit,
up
one
to,
doubt.
yeah, please.
One doubt. That zero, this is on the free tier or it's
I'll show you when we'll create, when we choose free tier, what is the,
full?
yeah, they what it is actually
Okay.
by default whatever they are giving. It's not,
Generic one.
yeah,
Generic one.
generic.
Okay, okay.
So
Got it.
the
Go ahead, go ahead.
snapshots, we have not any snapshots. We don't have the backups and everything. Okay, so let me just move into and create one DB instance. So you can just go here inside DB instances, or you can directly click on create database here. Let me go DB instances here, and you'll find nothing is available now. So let's create one database. Okay,
Uh-huh.
see here, just watch carefully all these options, whatever I'm just going through. Here giving options like choose a database creation method, whether you want to create in standard creation method or easy creation methods. So you have to just go through and read all this. What you have to do, you set all of the configuration options, including ones for availability, security, backups, and maintenance. Suppose if you go for standard, you have to go and choose by yourself by selecting the backup system, security, and how you want the maintenance and how you want the availability, everything you have to set up manually. But if you easy setup, use recommended best practice configuration. Some configuration option can be changed after the database is created. Suppose you just select easy create, you don't have to do all setups. It automatically creates everything for you. After that, what you have to do, you need to change anything, you can go and change it. But that's not a good way to do it. Always will try standard creation. Next, this engine options. So that picture, whatever I was showing, I got it from here. So you can see here the engine type. They have 6 type of database they are providing: Aurora, MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle, and SQL Server. So if you see, by default they are advertising their database. It's selected Amazon
Ah,
Aurora. So they are selecting their
error.
Amazon Aurora. Amazon Aurora also is very good database service they provided. Is provided by the AWS. Okay, so we are compatible. So you have to choose what is your requirement. Suppose your requirement to use Oracle, so you have to select Oracle. Okay, or if your requirement is MySQL, you just go for MySQL or whatever you want. So actually, we are going to learn this MySQL. Okay, so I selected this MySQL, and here you have to, when you select this MySQL, here the version information it comes. So what versions you want to select? Suppose the versions I want to select the older version, the newer versions actually sometimes will work or not. So I just want to choose something which is I am comfortable, or you are comfortable, or in your requirement. Suppose your requirement is not up to date new versions, requirement will be something older versions you want to choose. Suppose I want to choose 5.7.30. So this is the version of MySQL I choose. And then here is very important of the templates. Which template do you want to add? So if you use productions template, use defaults for high availability and fast, consistent performance. If you are going to use for productions, you have to choose for this. And if you are going for development and testing, you're going to, this instance is intended for development use outside of a production environment. Then you have to choose for this. As we are going to use the free tier, because it will be, when we use productions, it will create a high availability and it will create multiple instances for us, and they will charge like anything. We cannot pay the amount. Okay, so I'll go for free tier now.
Ranjit, let's this time we'll go with production because Bubble is there, na, so there is no issue.
Yeah, Bablu, share your insights. Yeah, okay. So let's go with free tier
Uh-huh.
first. Okay. So
Great.
we'll see what are the options in the free tiers. We'll get it. So in the free tier, select free tier, and you'll find here DB instance identifier. Okay, here is the DB instance, how you want to identify your DB. Type a name for your DB instance. The name must be unique across all DB instances owned by your AWS account and the current region. Okay, and make sure the region is chosen. Look your current nearest region, or which region you want to put it. It is region specific, so I have chosen Mumbai. Okay, so I'll give my DB name as, suppose, DevOps class. Okay, I want to copy this and put it everywhere so that I'll remember everything as one word as DevOps class. But in real time in organization, you have to give different names. Okay, so here
DevOps class means gone. Recently, they'll think like recently this guy studied LKM.
yeah, and yeah, and exactly this master username you never provide admin, because this is a very common, and everyone uses admin username. So better to use whatever is anyway, whatever I'm going to use is for only the demo and class, and you have to use accordingly by your company. If you are a solution architect, and you have to choose accordingly based on your requirement. So for my remembering, and for this class, to make it easy, I'm just putting everything as DevOps class, and the password also. Okay, so everything I put it there. Then it comes under the DB instance class. See here, the other things are grayed out, disabled, because I choose free tier. Okay, DB instance class, what it says, choose a DB instance class that meets your processing power and memory requirements. The DB instance class options below are limited to those supported by the engine you selected above. Okay, based on the selection, it actually displays. Now, I choose under free tier and MySQL engine. What happens? It grayed out all these options. It does not comes under free tier. What I can use, burstable classes, and that's up to this dbt2 micro, one CPU, 1 GB RAM. That's more than enough for our class. Okay, now let's next move on to the storage. So storage, like unlike in the EC2 instances, we used to select the volume type, right? Storage type, what kind of storage, volume storage you want, general purpose or one. So you can just select it here, whatever the one. Suppose I want for general purpose, let it be general purpose. Allocated storage, by default it gives 20 up to how much, six up to 100 tera 64 something 68 tera, 100 terabytes, right? Up to 100 terabytes you can move it. No, see here, up to 16,084 gigabyte, right? So
Okay.
it is up to 16 terabyte. I think. Let me just let me just see that one up to. What was that? Okay, we had seen in the documentation, right? Okay, so in the documentation you can see what
Yeah.
was the up to what level they provide to free. Okay, anyway, they gives it here also. Minimum is 20 gigabyte, maximum of 16,000 gigabyte. We can create it, allocate it, the storage. And here auto scaling, enable storage
And
auto
that
scaling. Yeah.
if we increase here, let we are making that 50.
Mhm.
So as you told now, we can get the S3 also same 50. So it will be chargeable
Yeah,
price wise.
it will be chargeable price wise. Yeah, you can increase up to
Uh,
50, or you can increase up to 50. This storage will be chargeable, but the same 50 GB will be allocated for you for S3. Whatever the storage you will
mhm,
do, that will be free. Okay, that 50 GB, the
mhm,
data, whatever the RDS data you will store, that will be entirely free. Okay, and free means that's not free. That comes under these packages. Whatever the data of RDS will be
mhm.
stored there itself. Okay, so I
Yeah,
don't
buy
want.
one get one offer.
Yeah. So we'll get
Uh,
20 GB. Now, next move on to the 1 second. Now, next move on to here availability and durability, right? You can see here as we selected free tier, and only they provide this in the productions selection. If you select for production, if you select for productions, because it high availability and fast consistent performance, they provides in the productions. So what do you have to select in the high availability? So in high available multiple availability shown deployment, we'll see in our next class, means tomorrow we'll see how we can set up this high availability and durability. So this is for free tier, it is now grayed out. Okay, and we have selected here also general purpose and burstable classes, normal, whatever it is, default. And here if you see here, sorry, okay, this is done. And connectivity, as we don't have any VPC, we'll go with the default VPC. And the subnet group, this is the subnet group of our VPC. Public access, here is very important to know. So if you want to give yes, that means you can publicly accessible your database. Okay, and no means RDS will assign a public IP address to the database. Only EC2 instances and devices inside the VPC can connect your database. That means you cannot outside, you cannot connect to the database. That is actually the real setup happens in the organization and company. Always the databases being kept in the secure private instances. It never get exposed to the public. Okay, so next is the VPC group, security
So,
group.
Ranjit,
Yes.
Ranjit, sorry, actually, one clarification actually. As you told previously, no, so like we cannot access like EC2 with IP address we are accessing from outside. So
Yes.
let I am making it yes. So that way can I access, but as you mentioned before, no, so we
No, no,
cannot
no, no,
access
no.
outside.
This means public access of the database, not the OS.
Uh,
That I said we'll not able to access the OS,
oh, yes, correct.
operating system.
Okay.
Operating system, the instance.
Uh,
We cannot access the instance. We cannot connect to the instance. But the database also you have to make it available, right? Everyone can access the databases.
means transaction, no? Yeah, correct, correct.
That's what this access. Okay.
Got it now. Yeah,
means
please.
means through VPC, if will this is only available only for that production database, means
Exactly.
public access use.
Exactly. So this,
And when we are creating the VPC, means if in an organization there are 100 requirement RDS database requirement is there, so we can create a first VPC with we can connect through VPC of that 100 database, then we'll give that access. Then that 100 EC2 instances or database um, can access by the 100 user whoever in that organization only.
yes. So actually, and what happens, as I said, always databases kept in the private instances. Okay. So it will not have access to the internet, or it will not have access to the public. So how, normally what happens, even that in the same VPC, one public instance will be there and one private instance will be there, and we'll keep our databases in the private instances. Even that public instances cannot access to the private instances, even though we are in the same VPC. We have other mechanisms called some gateways we are going to use, that is NAT gateway. Okay, network accelerated accelerated transition, where we can, using that gateway, we can connect our databases. So that comes under high level security, secure. Okay, in a secure way we connect to that one. So here also it says whatever Babu said is the correct, exactly what the VPC and what the concept about this private and all. So Amazon EC2 instances and devices outside the VPC can connect to your database if you select yes. Choose one or more VPC security groups that specify with EC2 instances and devices inside VPC can connect to the database. So here it says clearly, Amazon EC2 instances and devices outside the VPC can connect to your database if we select yes. Okay, and that's actually a security concerns. We should not allow outside VPC.
And then outside the VPC, how they will connect?
Exactly. So outside VPC, we have a different mechanisms called they provide actually the called is NAT gateway, NAT, NAT gateway. Using this NAT gateway, we can connect from the outside VPC or from the other servers, which we can make private. We can
That
able to connect.
okay, that NAT gateway and internet gateway will just use in the VPC to
Yes.
connect our machine.
Yes. See what happens when we talk about internet gateway only for public. It does not the security does not comes under inside the VPC. It comes outside of the VPC, which allow the public to come inside your VPC and using this network gateway and connect your applications inside the VPC. But if and also that you have to provide like ACL, that access control list, and the security groups, VPC level security group we have to set up to give access to them. Okay, but when we have two instances or many more instances, you have 100 instances, whatever you are telling, right? 100 DB instances are there. So in those 100 DB instances, suppose are in the private areas, private instances, those are all private. And how you will connect to these instances? Through any public instance inside the VPC, not outside the
Yes.
VPC, inside the VPC. Then you have to give the security, you have to allow the security for that public instance to access your RDS, or your database. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay, that we'll see in the action when we create our after this creations. I'll show you how we can set up this security to access your private database. Okay.
Okay. Okay. And if we
Yeah,
select
yeah.
no,
Yes.
it's assigned the public IP address,
So
not
RDS will
assigned.
not assign public IP address. So we cannot access this to public IP address. Only Amazon
And then
EC2 instance
yeah,
and devices inside the VPC can connect to your database. I'll show you how we can connect using the DNS endpoint. Okay, using the DNS endpoint or RDS endpoint. I'll show you what is RDS endpoint. Only using the RDS endpoint we can able to connect, and that also we have to provide the security for that firewall access. Then only we can able to access to this,
oh,
and only
okay.
that only particular EC2 which is under the same VPC where the RDS database available in the same VPC. If your EC2 is there, then it can able to access. If we open only the firewall access for that EC2 instances. I understand it will be little complicated while explaining all this, and you will not understand. Um, Once I'll go to this database and create this security and show you off, you'll easily understand how it works. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
So Vpc security group, you have to choose it. Either you can just choose existing or create new. Suppose let me create a new security group for that, and just give a name for that. Suppose I'll give RDS Vpc security group. Anything you can give. Suppose I give RDS Vpc security group. And availability zone, I am not giving any specification on the availability zone. I am leaving it by default. So
Just I have one question. Just maybe it's a silly question,
yeah.
but I have doubt that first thing will when we are creating a database RDS,
Mhm.
that database will create in a EC2 instance
Um, yes,
in a
actually,
machine.
even in a virtual
In,
machine. Yes.
yes, suppose one requirement is there. I need three database, Oracle database.
Mhm.
Then that Oracle database should install in a EC2 machine, and in that VPC also automatically requirements VPC also required for this Oracle machine.
Yes.
So when we are creating a database, Oracle database or any Amazon Aurora database, when we are creating, it's automatically in background a machine will create, or that also you have to create? Means now you will create a three-tier RDS database.
Exactly.
So a VPC or EC2 machine automatically that will create, or we need to create manually EC2 instance.
Yeah. So EC2
That
instance.
is Amazon will take care now.
Exactly. So everything will be taken care by Amazon. So EC2 instance cannot, that is actually, don't tell about the EC2 instance. That is not comes under EC2 instance. That whatever the instance or whatever the machines will be created, that will be created by Amazon, and Amazon will install this MySQL, that particular version we are, whatever we are selecting here. This particular, okay, let me just explain. Suppose we selected MySQL and MySQL these versions. So when we select all these options and we need database instance type T2 micro, all this we choose. What will happen? Whatever we choose here, based on that, the databases instances will be
Will get create.
okay, and Amazon will create for you, and it will not have access to outside to connect the instance. You cannot connect to the operating system or that DB instances in the backend. We can, how you can connect using the, how you can connect to the database using the RDS endpoint. Okay, so like what Bablu said, Bablu had asked two questions. One is whether we have to create VPC, we have to put in the VPC, whether that is our responsibility or Amazon will do it, or the EC2 instances, whether we will create or Amazon will do. So about this EC2 instances and the instances will be DB instances, that will be taken care by the Amazon. But the VPC you have to decide, you have to select, because the VPC whatever you create, that VPC you have to put into the database instances. Okay, so this database instances you have to put
Well,
into that
our
VPC.
firewall we need to.
Sorry.
Your voice is
Well,
breaking, Karan.
our firewall will select.
That you are,
So
yeah.
yes. So suppose basically it's a package. If we'll create a means database means it's include a instance, DB instance, and VPC also automatically it will get. Suppose in this other scenario, we'll consider it. Suppose I have already a EC2 instance, two three EC2 instance we have. In that particular EC2 instance, we need to install that Oracle database. So that option is there, or that
No, no,
can
no,
possible?
no, no. Yeah, that is
I
totally
think it's not
different.
there.
No, no. Well, let me explain you, Bablu. That's a good question actually. So we have to now,
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, we have to now identify our requirement. Okay. See, if your requirement is to use already distributed services provided by the Amazon, this is a distributed service. This is one RDS database service provided by Amazon. Whether you are going to use your database service by Amazon, or you are going to use and set up your own database. If you are going to set up your own database, what you have to do, you have to go and procure one or provision one EC2 instances, and that EC2 instances you have to install your MySQL or Aurora or whatever database you want. You have
Everything.
to install that, and you do setups everything into that instance. So that is your
Yes,
responsibility to manage everything, not Amazon's responsibility. But when Amazon is providing the RDS databases as a service, that's their responsibility to manage everything for you. Got the
correct.
point, right?
Correct.
What is the requirement? You have to
Yes,
always think about the requirement, what you need, and this installations and everything. We have a project actually in this cloud. I have a project. I'll show you in there how we can install this and create our own database and put into there. Okay, don't worry. I have a project to show you off now. Okay, next we choose the storage and everything. So availability is done, connectivity. So we created the Vpc Security Group. This is our VPC, and this is very important to remember. We need this to give access to this instance. Okay, and now availability zone. So I just gave it as pop, no preference default. And additional configuration, you'll see here database port. Remember, This 3306 data port is the default port, database port for Aurora and MySQL. If you want to change it, you can even change the port. But remember, this is the default port of 3306. Now what happens? We have the password authentications, whether using by IAM or by using Kerberos authentication. I'll choose by password authentications. And additional configurations, here you have to choose this additional configurations. So database name, because when we create the database DB, we should have give the database name. Also, if you don't give the database name, also you can connect using some third-party tool and you can create the database name. But normally it is always preferable to provide the database name. Suppose I gave my database name as DevOps class, and DB parameter groups, everything is select, and here see enable automated backup. So you have to select enable automated backup if you want automated backup to be taken, and you have to give your retention period, how frequently you want the backup to be taken. 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, or anything, whatever you want. Okay, so let me for me, I don't want any backup to take, so I just give it suppose 0 days. I don't want it. um so now backup window also, if you have the timings, if you want to select window, see what time you want, the start time, end time, and duration, how, what is the frequency of the backups, everything. If you want the duration, how frequently it will get backup, everything, you can select the window, take the backups. So I don't want to select anything, no preference. And if you see here, copy tags to snapshots. Okay, so automatically snapshots, the tags will be taken to
So
the,
Ranjit,
yes, yes, please.
sorry Ranjit. So that backup retention means how many days it will keep, right?
How many days?
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's how many days, sorry, yeah, how many
It
days
will
you
keep.
keep, right? It can choose the number of days that I
Means
want in automatic backups for these instances. We can select 0 because
means
we have,
So max it will be 35 days, no? Something you told
so
before.
here it is give 35 days. Max is for 0 to
means it will choose 35 days. After 35 days, it will take backup.
it will automatically
No,
delete.
no, no, no.
It will
No,
be
no. It will let today your Ranjit. Just sorry, Ranjit. I
yeah.
just interrupted. So if you're today you are keeping backup, let today you did. So it will keep for 35 days. After that, for this day, it will delete. Likewise, for 35 days, data will be available, and after that, it will get deleted.
Yeah, guys, I think Bablu got confused. Bablu, I said whatever I said, actually, it was in for backup window. But if you say it is given as backup retention period, okay, how long the backups will be stored? You want how long to store your backup? That is what this is given here. This
Okay, that is
enable,
maximum 35 days we can store our backup.
yes, maximum 35 days. And this is enable automated backup. You have to select point in time snapshot of your database. That will be automatically taken. It is selected. And if I, because I don't have any database to retain, so that's why I gave as 0. I don't have to retain any database retain period. If you, it has given up to 0 to 35 days, you can retain your database. Suppose if you go our documentation we had, right, automated backup allows you to recover database of any point within the retention period. The retention period can be 1 to 35 days. Okay, suppose if you want to restore your data, you can within these 35 days you can restore your data. After 35 days it will be deleted. Suppose you select, suppose you select your data can be 1 week only, 7 days. After 7 days your database will be deleted, backup will be deleted. Okay, there will be no backups. Got it, Bablu?
Now it's clear.
Yeah, good. So 0 days the retention period, suppose I gave 0 days. And backup window, you can give the backup window to take the automatic backups. And monitoring, if you want to enable the monitoring, you can just enable the monitor to monitor your sex and whatever the monitor your CPU uses and metrics and in the seconds wise or anything. So log exports, if you want to see the by using the CloudWatch logs, you can just monitor edit logs, error logs, whatever you want, you just select it in the CloudWatch. You can get the monitor sold. So the maintenance also, it enables auto minor version upgradation. Automatically it will be done. So maintenance window, I have given no preference. I don't want to maintain this one. Deletion protection. This is very much important if you are selecting, because sometimes you don't allow your database to be deleted by mistake by anybody. Suppose if you want to use some queries to delete anything, so it will not allow you to delete the databases itself. Okay, so you can select it enable. I'm not going to select because I have to delete it after the class. Okay, so you can select deletion protection to save your database from the accidentally deletion. Now here is the most important point, is the monthly costs, how much you have to pay for this. So what it says, Amazon free tier is available up
Yeah,
to
yeah, cost.
12 months, and here they, in these 12 months free, actually they are giving 12 months free. In these 12 months free, you can use 750 hours of RDB single availability zone DB2 instance, and 20 GB of general purpose storage, 20 GB of automated backup storage, and all this you can use. Okay, that comes under this estimated monthly cost. If you use production based, then it will be charged more. There will be no free. It comes under only free tier. Okay, if you even create your database and use for sometimes, and here is a twist actually. If you guys can find out or not, I'm not sure, but can you tell me what is the twist here? It gives 50 hours of Amazon RDS. Also, the same 750 hours is for EC2 instances. If you remember, for EC2
In
instances,
a month. That is in a month.
Yes.
I think this is in a year.
no. This is
No,
also year.
estimated
This is
monthly
also
cost.
month.
No, here
This is
also
also
month.
month. This is also month.
Okay. Okay.
But the thing is, 750 hours means if you're running single instance or single EC2, 750 hours means monthly is 360. Sorry, how many hours? It will be 365 into 24. Hey, this is too much. Huh? 365, 365 days, right? Into 24.
365. Oh, okay. 8760.
So yearly, how much? 8,700.
876.
What is it? Is it correct or wrong?
Ah,
Something wrong?
no, that is correct. No, that is correct. But 750 hours per month actually this one.
So this is
For
per month. Sorry, yeah,
So
this is per
750
month.
into 12.
so
Yeah.
12,
So
we need to
750 into 12.
no, 12 months means months is 30 days, right? So 30 into 24. So 720. Sorry, yeah, it's 720 hours. 720 hours per month. It comes 720. There's some months it comes 31 days. So it will be 730, 750. Suppose they are given for one EC2 instances. Okay. Suppose you are running one EC2 instances and one DB instances. How much total will be? 750 into 2, right? 750 into 2, 1500, 1500. So up to 750 is free, but you have to pay for another 750 for your EC2 instances. You cannot run two free services at one time. They will accumulate the charges.
Okay.
You have to pay for that. So if you will be thinking this is free, I
Mhm.
can run all the services. No, that's not possible. Only one services you can use up to 750 hours. Okay, so be careful while using these services.
this is
Even
monthly.
this is monthly. Yeah, suppose if you're
All,
running, if
all
you're
are
running two EC2 instances, that means two EC2 instances means
So,
you'll be running 1500 hours. 1500 hours, if you're
yes.
running it, then you have to free 750 and another 750 you have to pay. Okay, that's the very
Yes.
crucial things you should remember. Okay, now, okay, don't waste time. Let's start the create database. Let's create database. So our database is now created. Okay, guys. So our database is created. Now it will take 5 to 10 minutes to get created. 5 minutes, minimum 5 minutes it will take to get created. So we can see it here, it is getting created. Okay, We can refresh it. Where is the refresh button? Yes. So we can refresh it and see that one. And meanwhile, let me create one UI, user interface, to connect to the database. I'll show you how we can connect the database. So I'm just quickly going to get one EC2 instances, okay, where I'll install my UI like PHP and Apache server. I will install Apache PHP server, PHP and Apache, and through that we'll access the. See, this is a small project, guys. This is a small project. Just see it and how I am doing.
Yeah.
If you do this project by yourself without any help, then that's almost you are 50 to 70% you are done. Okay, so I'm just quickly going and launching an instance.
Yes, here my question is, we have when we are creating that database at the AWS database, that time we just created one EC2 instance. We have mentioned in the setting one EC2
No,
instance.
that is DB instance. That is DB instance, not EC2 instance.
Okay,
That is DB instance.
okay. Then
So DB.
we need to create a EC2 instance, and we'll just connect this to EC2 instance and our database. Then we'll able to connect our database.
Exactly. So we'll create one EC2 instance, and this EC2 instance, I'm going to install one UI application server. This application from this application, I'm going to connect the database. But how I'll connect the database? I need something, right? Manually, it says manually we cannot connect. We need one third-party tool or any API. We need any application programming interface to connect our database, right? So that's what
Yes.
I'm going to create one API. I'll show you how I'm going to create one API.
That is it.
Yes, in the institute. So next configuration. So everything is default. Let it quickly create and 8 GB. Add storage quickly. So it will be name. Suppose I'm giving as DB, not DB server. This is suppose I'm going to give um, uh, RDS demo server. Demo UI server. RDS demo UI server. Now the rules security groups, I'll just give any existing. Suppose I just want to use this demo, okay, demo server, and launch. Just key my new key. Let's launch. Okay, so let it get created. And meanwhile, we can go to the RDS and check whether our RDS is ready or not. Okay, yeah, so we can see here we have one DB instances. We can see here resources, right? We have one DB instances. Just click on this and you can see, okay, so it is still creating. Okay, so DB instance is still getting created. So here DB T2 micro, it's still getting created. Okay, let it get created. So for that, let me ready our EC2 instances. So our EC2 instances is up and running. Now let me just go to the EC2 instances, and here I'm just quickly install one applications. Very quickly I'll install. So system I. So it is Ubuntu. Okay, so as we know, every time when we get, we should always update the system. So I'm going to use up package manager update -y. So it will quickly update. After that, I have just written some program here, and it is in HTML and PHP. So I'm going to put this in our Apache server. Okay, so for that I need to install some Apache server. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply, okay, this update is done. Now let me quickly install Apache server. Sudo apt package manager install Apache 2y. So it will install it. Okay, our Apache server is installed. Now let's check the status. System CTL status Apache 2.
No, here submit, no, Rajat? Oh,
No, it's fine. Yeah, system CTL status Apache 2. It's running. Okay. Now let me
Here,
install.
little bit confused. So my question is, just normally we create a Windows EC2 instance,
Mhm.
and can we use that our database in that instance?
Yes, yes, we can. I'll show you that also. Don't worry. I'll show you that also. We can
Okay.
do that also. I'll show you.
Okay.
In our tomorrow's project, I'll show you. I'll just create one database instance and we'll install Apache there in the Windows. And from that, I'll try to connect the database. Okay.
Yeah.
So now we just go and install the Apache server. Oh, sorry, Apache is installed. Now I'm going to install PHP. So I'm going to install PHP. Okay, install PHP because I have written the PHP to connect the database. Okay, I have written the PHP to connect the
because of
page.
hmm,
Yeah, because we need any API, any
yeah,
programming, right? Any programming server side
hmm.
programming to connect the database. Then how will we connect the database then? So now my PHP and Apache is ready. Okay, so let's go to the application folder, that is var.html. In this application folder, we have that index.html file. Okay, let me rename this index.html file, and I don't need this. Okay, to make sure the server is working fine. Okay, so if we go here and I put it this, we can see our Apache server is running. Now let me rename this Apache server. Once I rename it, if I refresh, it will not be there. Okay, Apache server is missing. Sorry, the website is missing. Now our application is done. I want to quickly create two files. Sudo vi index file index.html. Okay, and then in that I'll just put my applications whatever I have designed. Yeah, simple applications, only few buttons are there. Done. And I'm going to create one file called create database. Database is created. I'm going to use create table. So we'll create table, right? Create table dot php. Okay, put it there. I'll show you this code. Don't worry. Then we'll insert create table. Then I'll insert some record. Okay. Then I'll insert some record. Insert record dot php.
This thing we need to create to some SQL query. That is possible. Means when we are using the Oracle database or something, then we are create table syntax we are using to
Yes.
create table.
Yeah.
That that also possible or not? Because sometimes in real time world, some database developer are using that tool to create the table, and whatever the database work is there, they are using the tool.
Yes.
So uh,
The command line.
that also,
Yes, that is
yes,
also
this is
that.
the command. Yes, I
Yeah.
understood.
Yeah. Command
But
line
that
interface. That's
also
also.
available. That
Yes, Bablu. That is also possible to connect using the command line. Using command line also you can connect to that. I'll show you in the next class while using the AWS CLI. Right? We can connect to the
okay.
instances and we'll see how we can do
So Bablu,
manually.
Ranjit, I think Bablu is asking like we are creating table, na? So create table name, insert
Correct.
into table this records. So that way actually.
No, no.
No,
Yeah.
Bablu, am I
yes, that
correct?
way, here also we are using when this
Same
is the
thing also
command
we
to
are using.
insert
Same
query
thing also we are using. I'll show you.
using, but But in suppose we are working in database developer, we are using some tool, Oracle tool. We are using to insert data or whatever to play with the queries. So in the database table, we are using the platform is Oracle tool. We are using SQL Server 2002 2007
SQL terminal.
tool we are using. I just means want to know that if we'll create a EC2 instance, in that EC2 instance, our Oracle database, Oracle tool is, if we'll install our Oracle tool through that RDS, then directly we'll open that Oracle database and we'll create, with the use our create command or update command
Okay.
statement and
No,
we'll
that is like the manual actually, because everything you have to handle actually. You have to install any dependency you have to install. But here actually, AWS will take care of everything. Only you connect and play. Ranjit, am I correct?
Whatever Bablu is saying, actually, we have to connect manually to the database instance and then execute the commands in the command prompt itself, like create table, whatever he is telling. That is, yes, that is possible. I'll show you how you can do it. Just give me some time. So just suppose I'm here. Let me show you. Uh, what
because suppose in real
Yeah,
time
yeah.
or someone some database developer some in some
Yes,
project required.
here it is probably see. Suppose I connect it to the server, okay, database. Suppose I connect it to one server where database is installed. And if I use MySQL, suppose this is the command for MySQL to use. User, suppose I give Ranjit and hyphen P. Okay, so it says access denied. One second. Okay, so here wrong username I gave. I see it should be root hyphen root hyphen P. See, I connected to MySQL.
To your data.
Okay. Now,
MySQL
if
data.
I want to see and play around the databases, I can see show databases. So databases, I can see here all the databases available here. DevOps class,
Uh,
right? And if I want to use that database command, I can use that use database name. So I use database name. And if you want to see the tables
Now you
here,
can
so tables,
tables.
you can see user.
Yeah, so this is possible, but if some requirement is there, some database in one project there are two Oracle databases required.
Mhm.
Then we'll give this instance to that developer, this 172.31.43.197 instance to that developer, and we'll tell use this database and whatever the stored procedure or whatever you require, you can do here. Then he will shout, na? He will shout told that we want a EC2 instance which is installed Oracle tool. In that Oracle tool, we'll just he will work on that Oracle tool. So my question is that also maybe to next class you will show that how we'll use in Windows Server. We'll install our database Oracle database and we'll go. We'll click on that Oracle database, that tool will open. In that tool, we will work on our database.
So suppose you want any tool to be used to connect your database, right?
Correct, correct.
Okay, that's fine. That is very simple. I'll show you also one tool, install one tool, and in that tool, suppose I'll install suppose any kind of Apache. So okay, just tell me one thing. When you use suppose you got one EC2 instances. Okay, in that EC2 instances, suppose you have installed one Oracle tool.
Yes,
Okay, and you want
yes.
that Oracle tool, suppose Toad, you are using suppose Toad, and you want to connect the Toad to the database. Am I right? Suppose you have Oracle DB instance, okay, Oracle DB instance
Yes.
in the RDS, and you want to connect. That is what I'm going to show you how you can connect from the API. That is what I was just making the API here. I'll show you how you will connect your Oracle DB instance from your Toad application, which is installed on the EC2 instance. What you have to do?
EC2.
You
Correct.
have to just provide the RDS DB endpoint into the host name of the Toad. once you give the host name in the toad, it will automatically connect your DB instances running on the RDS AWS. That is very simple.
Correct.
Let me show you.
This thing I
Ah,
understand.
Yeah. So,
But
mhm,
my question is, when we are working in a as a database developer in a project,
mhm,
they will give us one EC2 instance. Sorry, any instance in a virtual machine. They will give in that virtual machine some software they will install. Means like SQL Server 2020 or Oracle. Like currently, I'm working in as a Blue Pigeon developer in that EC2 virtual machine. Some Blue Pigeon tool is installed.
mhm.
So like this, will install that this tool manually in that virtual machine or through this RDBS. Suppose Oracle database, we selected that create a Oracle database.
Mhm.
So in that Oracle database automatically will install in that virtual machine or not? That is my question.
No, no, no. Bablu is not getting that into that point. See, Bablu, whatever you're telling, don't think about this virtual machine and you will. So whatever initially first tell will not have any single access to the virtual machines. The virtual machine will entirely be handled and taken care by the AWS, Amazon. So the operating system and the virtual machine you will not have access at all. What access you'll have access to the database alone. You'll have access to the database. What is there in the virtual machine, what other applications running, that's it's not visible to you and it's not possible to you connect. Only you
Okay.
only you can access is the database. What is running on that DB instance is nothing but your virtual machine. Okay, and
Now I got it. Yeah.
yeah, and what API you are talking about, the third party tool, you have to install separately, either in EC2 or either you can use any Azure machine or any other machine or either on premises or whatever machine you can get it. Using endpoint, you can just connect to that and access that. And here, simple example I'm giving. Suppose this machine, whatever I am currently using, is this is a totally entirely separate machine. It is not related to the RDS. It is not related to the DB instance, which is totally separate. And in this machine, what is running? I have one application API machine. So I have created one application to create one table to insert some data and to show something. So what is running, and this is the UI, this is the front end. What is the back end? What is the things running? So if I go and see, you can see here I have few PHP files created. Suppose let me open this file first. Okay, so this is what happened. The Okay, let me first, okay, let's see whether our RDS is running or not. Just refresh it. Yeah. Okay, we can see it here.
Okay.
It is now available, right? Let me just go to this.
available.
Let me go to this database instance. Once you go to this database instance, you can see here CPU uses 2.71 and what are the classes, region, and engine type. Everything you can see it here. Can you guys mute?
Please mute yourself
Yeah. So all this is done.
here
Then
and
you can see here the endpoint and port. This is the endpoint of the DB instance. Using this endpoint alone, you can access your database, or else you cannot access
database.
anything. Alright. Okay, and all this is networking. Here, the networking details given, security details given. So let me just get this endpoint, and where I'll use this endpoint, I'll use in my program, right? So whatever program I have written it here in the PHP, you can see here the server name. I have to just copy this server. Let me copy this. Go here and I can just change this. Put my endpoint. So I put the DB instance endpoint here. And username, you remember we have given DevOps class, right? Password also the same, and database name also we have given same. So here I am just using some commands, PHP commands to connect the database and create the table for us. So for what it is creating, so very simple, just first name, last name and email, it is getting created. So all this will be gets created. Okay. Similarly, I have to change the endpoint for other script as well. For insert,
Because this is new endpoint, we have to change accordingly.
exactly. So endpoint, if you have, suppose tomorrow, if you have 20 and 20 DB instances and you have 20 applications connecting to the database. So accordingly, you have to change your endpoints in all your applications, or else it will not work. Okay. Similarly, I have to change in all cases. So suppose here my host name, I'm changing the host, okay, host name of the database, because we need the database server name to connect, right? This is the server name. Now everything is set up. What I'm going to do, suppose I'm going to create, and my server application is running. Let me create a table. If everything goes fine, the code is correct, then it will create a table for us.
Maybe this is script table
Can you tell me?
syntax is correct. Maybe this is a
Man, that's
HTTP error.
exactly. So here actually the page is not working because currently unable to handle this request. We are getting HTTP error 500. That means the server itself has no access. The server itself has
Correct.
no
Yeah.
access,
Okay.
because now this is our entirely different application. This EC2 is totally entirely different, and that
Because
DB2 instance is totally different. And how will
we
connect?
have used, yes, we have used that 3306 port. Now we will use that HTTPS and HTTP port. Then we'll able to access.
Let me tell you what we have to do now. Now our EC2 instances is running and our DB instances is running. So what we have to do, we have to, in the DB instance security group, we created one security group, right? If you go to here and you will see one security group is created. Where is the security group? So if you go to the security groups, you'll see we have this. You remember we had created this RDS Vpc security, right?
Yes.
Now we have to allow access to the EC2 instance to connect to the database. So for that, what we have to do, we have to go to the inbound rule and modify the inbound rule of RDS database. So this is our database security group, and here we have to go and edit it. See
Correct. Here we have to give the
that group details. Okay, suppose I am just going to use MySQL Aurora, right? MySQL
RT.
port 3306, and here I have to give the security group of that EC2 instance. Okay, security group of that EC2 instance. Suppose if you click it here, you'll get the range of the CIDR blocks. Suppose I want to get security blocks, security of, okay, so our security group was used in the EC2 instance was demo server. So I selected this security group. Got it? Now I am providing access to that EC2 instance to connect the database. Everything, is it clear, guys? Otherwise you will not understand it. You cannot do it if it is not clear. Just tell me if you have any doubt or anything.
No, here it's clear.
Yeah, so
Like previously, when we were creating EC2 instance to connect our EC2 instance in other tab, then we are using that HTTP and HTTPS.
that
Like
is
this
that is
here,
different. That is different. Yeah,
yeah,
that is different.
Uh,
So that is we are
it's
allowed.
like to connect
Ranjit,
data. We are,
sorry actually. Ranjit,
Yes, please. Yeah.
Ranjit.
Yes.
Ranjit, actually, I supposed to disconnect actually because I need to. Ranjit, actually, I am going out actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
No
I'll
worries. So I
disconnect now. So I'll go through recordings.
yeah, that's fine. Let me just go through quickly in another. You have 2 minutes, right? Just give me quickly.
Yeah, please, please. Then.
Yeah, it's
No, no,
done.
you can continue actually. I
No,
can
no,
go for a recording actually. That's not an issue.
just finally,
No, no, we'll just continue to just we'll finish it and
yeah,
just
another
two, three.
Okay, okay, okay.
it will complete. Okay. So, okay, see,
Uh,
so I
uh,
have just given the security group and given access to this one. So let me just go quickly to here and refresh it, this application, and now hit create. Okay, still it is not working. See this issue, right? HTTP error 500, and it says like the site serving 500 internal server error. It could be due to file permissions, fatal code error, or something, right? Or server issues. So it says some fatal code error. Also, they have, if you see, someone has given there is some related issue, could be with your PHP files. Okay, so what we can do, we can just go and remove and delete the files and recreate it. Okay, so let me just go here, and here you can see we have few files which we can delete it and recreate the files. So once you recreate the files, so once you recreate these files and put everything in that particular PHP file, and if you go here, and now let's go and check. Okay, and remember for that actually I had restarted the servers, and you can see here the IP address of the server has now changed because I had stopped the EC2 instances and recreated it. Okay, not recreated, restarted it. I just restarted the server to check it. Now if I just go and run my applications, you can see here. So let me create the table first. If I click it here, yeah, it says the table is created successfully. So let me just insert some data. Click. So now record is successfully inserted. Let's show the database. What is the data inside the database? If you show it, see, I have now this database. Let me explain how the code, what I have used and where the endpoint is being used, right? So if I go to my create that table, right? Suppose let me go to the insert one, vi insert. So here you can see, so I have used the DB instance endpoint through which I am connecting to the database. So this is our database host name. Okay, database host name, and this is the username and password, and this is database name. DB name is your database name. Remember this server name, which is very much important to provide and connect to your DB instance. So here I have just inserted one record, like one record Ranjit, and the details of first name, last name, and email. And here I have used some PHP commands to connect to the server. After connecting, I'm inserting the data. So we have to write the usual SQL syntax to connect and insert the data, MySQL syntax. So let me change this and add one more record to it. Suppose this time, let me add one more user called case. Okay, let's come on and just give something. gmail.com. Okay, so let me save it, and our insert record PHP file is saved. So our application, if you go here and just hit insert button, right? So what it will do, it will just add one more record here. Just let me check. See, we can now see two records inserted into our database. So now we can see how we can insert and how we can connect to the RDS DB instances on the AWS cloud. So in our next class, we'll see about the multi-availability zone setup, and we'll see how we can set up the read replicas for faster performance. Okay.